think this is the essence of art. This is even the essence of keep moving forward for innovation. So for innovation to happen, you need to... Food is no longer food. Food is more connected to our surroundings, to our living.
What do you actually do?
Okay, so basically, I used to be...
How do you go from being a designer to accidentally opening a restaurant?
Never underestimate the power of stupidity. I created the material from the skins of the fruits and vegetables. You don't wake up and think, you know what, I'm gonna create a new material. This is not how it comes to you. You have a hunch, you have a feeling that there is something there, and you try to investigate. I try to use food as my medium rather than food being the last expression.
What role do you see KSA playing, particularly when it comes to innovations in food and sustainability in the coming years?
I think Royal Highness, he said it's going to be the new Europe. I think Saudi Arabia is becoming a place where dreams come true. I'm seeing this region turning into an innovation hub. Most of the brightest minds are here.
There are probably people listening to this or watching this who are interested in using food as a path to a better future. What advice would you give someone who's perhaps just starting out on that journey? You're about to watch a fascinating discussion I had with food artist Omar Sartawi. This inspirational man is creating art to change the way we view food, especially when it comes to waste. I know you're going to love this episode of the InFlavour podcast, especially if you're interested in food culture, sustainability, and artistic expression. Before we jump in, I want to ask a quick favour. If you like what you hear, if you derive any benefit from this podcast, then please do engage with it by sharing with your friends, commenting on it, and liking it. It makes a huge difference to us and will enable us to keep bringing high quality conversations from people who are literally changing the world. I hope you enjoy the episode. Omar, your work blurs so many lines between food and art, culture, heritage, reality, virtual reality. What inspired you to play with those boundaries?
It's just curiosity. I think we should always be curious. We should never lose that trait. Definitely having the science to back that up. Definitely having the science enables you. Working with great minds as well makes you kind of ask the important questions. I was taught by someone who's like really intelligent that the questions are more important than answers. So just figuring out what question to ask, what to challenge, what status quo to challenge, what needs challenging. And then from there, using all the science and the technology and the expertise, my friends, the people I work with. I not only work with chefs, I work with architects, designers. So having all that and just combining it together and just to just challenge something, ask something, try to reimagine something. I think this is the essence of art, and this is even the essence of science. You know, this is the essence of keep moving forward for innovation. So for innovation to happen, you need to challenge the status quo. So this is the idea: is just keep challenging the status quo and combining all these different disciplinaries to what I believe is create a new genre. Where food is no longer food, food is more connected to our surroundings, to our habitat, to our living. So till this day, we are living our life, then we take a break and we go eat. We are building something, we take a break, we go eat. We are shopping, we take a break, we go eat. I think it's important, and a lot of very good people think it's important to become more united to food, whether it's something we wear, with our habitat. So this is the idea of that. It's just to ask questions, to challenge ideas, and knowing that maybe the answer would not be with me or with the people I work with. Maybe someday someone else would come up with the answer. Just a small example on that. When we say about YouTube, so YouTube was a wedding website video, and look what it is now. So the idea is we just ask questions, and the echo of that question, the butterfly effect. Someone else might think of, you know what, this gives me an idea, I'm gonna try to do that. So this is the idea behind it.
Omar, how would you describe yourself? Like, you know, what do you actually do?
Okay, so basically, I used to be a designer. I did so many things in my life before. So I had different backgrounds. I worked in engineering, I worked in construction, I worked in marketing, then I worked in design. That was the last thing. I had a design company, and I was all the time working with architects and working with engineers, problem solving, into changing the intangible into tangible. These kind of conversations. And then I turned into food, my true passion. I've always been passionate about food, and I've always been obsessed and inspired by the people who use the hearts, the crafts. Like whether it's the guy who's doing the stone, whether it's the guy who's doing the marble, the guy who's doing the wood. And most precious to my heart has always been the person, the butcher, the cook, the shawarma guy. I'll be looking at that craft and really inspired by it. And I just happened to be lucky enough to take the wrong roundabout and just end up opening a restaurant by coincidence. And from there, it's just been a journey of learning, working with the best I can. Then I got myself trained. Then I got food science, food chemistry, food physics. I did some courses at Harvard online. So it's just a matter of evolving, keep evolving. And from there, I've reached a point where at the beginning, I did not understand why I was doing what I'm doing or what is the reasons for that. Because now it's basically, I try to use food as my medium rather than food being the last expression. So I will take food and I will use it as my canvas, as my marble. I would carve something in it. I would paint on it. I would do something. And the final result doesn't have to be edible, but it always must be edible because I'm always using food. So it must be edible, but the purpose of it sometimes is not to be eaten. It's just creating a new genre where, because you have the chef that is very artistic and you have the artist that really cooks well, but there is nothing in between. And this is where I think my work fits. I'm not a chef. I have the chef skills. I'm a trained. I'm not an artist. I'm more like an artist. But I did that middle where, and even the projects I take, I always do different projects. So I'll do consultation, I'll open a restaurant, then I'll do an art piece. So I'm always trying to jump from these disciplines. So I remain in the area where it's basically just food art. So I would say in the essence of things, I'm a food artist.
How do you go from being a designer to accidentally opening a restaurant? Talk us through what happened there.
I never underestimate the power of stupidity. And it's a very important power. I just been fascinated by food. Always admired people of craft, and I think there is nothing more connected to us than food. And I was working. I had a design company. We were developing restaurants, and all the owners would be like, you should get into restaurants. You're really good at this and that. What happened? I met a guy who had a cafe. And let's open a restaurant. And I chose the opposites of cuisines. I chose Italian and Asian, and they are completely the opposite. So they cook in completely different spirit. But from there, it was just a learning journey.
Was that something that you did for a long time?
I think I started 10 years ago. So it's just not that far. But the interesting part is because I have all these different backgrounds. So I've worked in building materials. I've worked in design. I worked in marketing. I worked in the stock market. Worked in so many different things. So my approach to food, it has a different, unique angle. So usually chefs, they're pleasers. And it's nothing wrong with that. It's a nice thing. Chefs are pleasers. They want to please you. They want to give you the best they can. Well, I want to create an experience for you. So I might give you a horrible dish as part of the experience just to lower your expectations. Then I'll give you something else. My approach to food in general, it's very different to what chefs usually approach it. Usually a chef hires an architect to design his restaurant. An architect would hire a chef to cook for him. Rarely do they talk the same language. Where me and architects, usually we speak at the same language. We're talking conceptual, why, how, what does it make? And then turning the conceptual into something, turning the intangible into something tangible. I think this is one of the hardest things in the world. And that's what I get better with all the experiences I do is taking an intangible, taking just an idea and just putting it there and just making it work. And with time, I work with better people. I have better friends at that. I work with brighter minds like yourself, like so many people in InFlavour that we met. And it's a snowball effect. You start working with, I was in Cairo Design Week. I was an opening speaker for Film by Design at Cairo Design Week. And I met some amazing, beautiful minds there. You know, in InFlavour, we met some amazing people. You get to meet such people and you get to work with such great minds, which enrich my work, enrich my ideas, and elevate it. I'm seeing this region turning into an innovation hub, and most of the brightest minds are here. And you're having all that feeding off and brainstorming and coming with beautiful projects and ideas. And I think never before, it has happened before in history where that area was like the brightest thing. But I think it's coming, those days are coming back. You see innovation being created in mostly the Gulf area, and from so many different nationalities coming together and just working beautifully together for bettering humanity, for bettering our existence, our culture. And I think this is a beautiful time to be alive, to see it, and actually more beautiful that a small part of it. This gives me pride every single day.
So it sounds to me like collaboration is something that's really important to you. Talk to me about your views on collaboration and what, why that's so important to you.
To me, it's very necessary. The reason for that is I just designed just a month ago. We've designed for Paris Fashion Week. I've worked with a famous fashion designer. He was in New York Fashion Week. He did something with Forbes, and he's a great guy, Kish Jean. And we've developed a dress from aubergine. So the thing is that I've developed this material from food waste, where we turn the leather, the aubergine peels, and all that into a leather-like material. And imagine if I make a dress, how confusing it will be to the people and to me and myself. I am a food artist, I'm a chef. If I go and make a dress, what I do is already confusing. If I'm making jewelry and fashion and all these things, then I'm drifting away from food art. I'm becoming something that I'm not. So the only way that it can work is for me to focus on what I do and have people have faith in me, because most of these things have never been done before. See, most people, they haven't seen that. And when people haven't seen this, it's unfamiliar to them. They're not comfortable in processing it. So you only work with these creative minds who can see the potential of things, okay? And these people, they come on board and we collaborate together. So without them, these projects would not be possible. And if I even attempt to do them by myself, I would be more confusing my journey. So to me, it's as more important than my role, most probably, because they need to believe in me and they need to give it a shot. And they need to be special people. There's always this number where 2.5% of humanity are the innovators, the creators, the writers. And then you have the 16.5, the early adapters. Then you have the 35%, the early buyers, then late buyers. So these 2.5 people, they can tell if someone is genuine, if he's good, if he's not. And without them, I think progress would be very difficult, to me at least. So to me, they're extremely important.
So how do you seek out these innovators to collaborate with, to connect with?
Yeah, and usually it's the work. It does the work. Yeah, and you see the work. Some people are very conservative. So if I approach someone that conservative, it would not work, even if we try to do something. So you need to see someone who's hungry for change, someone who's crossing boundaries, trying to do things at the edge of where we are now. And you just can't tell in 2 seconds. You just see someone's work and you think, I want to work with this person. And usually it takes just 2 minutes. Like, hey, I love your work. Oh my God, yeah, let's do something. So it's I just think at that level, it's either you're aligned or you're not aligned. It's either something that you see the potential of and you would work with, or you just don't. So it's just pretty much the work. You can see the work and that's it.
Talk to me about your journey when it comes to food. You say that you have always been into food. Where did that start?
Breastfeeding. No, it fascinates me. I mean, food, the cultures. Like if I go to a country, I want to experience the food first than most than anything, because it just fascinates me how the same ingredient is used so differently. And in a country, it becomes like, it becomes like a rule. So like, this is how it should be used. And like, if you go to Italy, they have a very particular way of using things. And if you go against that, you have offended. This is mostly in most countries. If you go there, they have a way of using the ingredients. I think just experiencing it, it's like rice. I mean, rice is like the simplest thing in the world. Like the most boring thing in the world is rice. Yet it's the most interesting thing. In every country treats it differently, and every country has beautiful delights with it. And one of the best dishes I've had in Saudi Arabia actually was a rice dish. It really surprised me that something that simple can be so beautiful. So to me, food, it's the highest expression. I wouldn't say it's the highest, but it's one of the strongest expression of culture. It's as there as art. Yeah, you express the culture. If you give me Russian food, and I will tell you about Russia. I will tell you the weather, the economy, all these different things. Give me Greek food. I was having a Greek food a couple of days ago in Dubai. You can sense the weather there. You can sense the heat. You can sense the sun. Just with a simple tomatoes with some cheese and some oregano. So it translates so much. And I really believe good food comes from a good place.
You've mentioned before about being fascinated also by what people throw away and demonstrating that there's luxury and beauty behind these things. So how do you achieve that?
So in a matter of perspective, see, this excessiveness has never been part of, at least to say my culture. A lot of produce, that wasn't the case 20 years ago or 30 years ago. If we have a lime juice, for example, if we're doing a lemon juice, we would actually use the lime skin and the white to create this cleaning detergent or something, and we would just use them for their aromas. And it was more like, I remember my grandmother from the land, she would get all these different vegetables, and she would know how to deal with each vegetable so that she can keep it for the longest time. And she would ferment, she would dehydrate, she would do so many different things so that actually she preserves that. And we have always been sustainable. This is part of who we are. This is part of our culture. That surplus and that excessiveness and that lot of produce at the cheaper prices, this is something very new. So the idea is, I didn't do anything that's alien to me. It's just basically this is what we do. It was one of these projects, these art projects. I created the material from the skins of the fruits and vegetables. And you don't wake up and think, you know what, I'm going to create a new material. This is not how it comes to you. It's just, as I tell you ask questions and you have a hunch, you have a feeling that there is something there, and you try to investigate. The way this came about, I was fascinated by this verse in Quran. It says, the figs and the olives. We don't have that in our food. We don't eat a lot of figs and olives. So I've been fascinated by it even before I became a chef. And then one day I thought, you know what, I'm going to create that as an art piece. And I waited for the fig season, then I got the skin, then I dehydrated them, cured them a little, and then, I stitched it on the olive. And I thought this is very interesting. My grandmother used to make this zucchinis and stuffed aubergine. Can I make that into a piece? And I started playing with the skin. And basically, there's a theory in engineering. Basically, it says if you apply enough stress on something, it will bend, but at one point it can break. So that was the idea. I was thinking, does time has a stress point? Can it break? Can I find a way to break time? And it was just an interesting question. And I bought so much aubergine and I started just testing different things. So I would be trying to find a way to counter the effect of time and aging. So I would do this, it would become drier. I would find a technique that would fix that. Then it would rot. I would find a technique for that. So basically, and I was using things that I've read from Peruvian times. They have this ancient technique of preserving potatoes, to some things that my grandmother did, to some sous vide and modern day cooking. So I was using all that and just trying to battle time. So every time something happened, I would just cure that and I would just give it 2 more days shelf life, And I think by like the 20th or 30th experiment, it was like 16, 17 days in, And I think just time gave up. It was like, you know what, have your piece of aubergine. I don't want to play with you anymore. And I was able to preserve the skin. And it was, as a leather, I couldn't believe it. And it was just like a leather. And I started just making sure that I have the technique written down, I've developed it properly, that I rearranged it in the best way ever. And actually, I've managed to create from the skin a leather, and from there, I was gonna stitch it. So I don't have a stitching machine. I did not want to buy one. That's why I say collaboration is important, because I can't keep buying things, you know. So I went to the shoe guy, and I was like, "Can you stitch this for me?" And the guy was like, "What is this, leather?" I'm like, "I'm not gonna tell you it's aubergine. Yeah, it's leather." Yeah, and it worked. And then was about of can we make Corona came? Can we make a mask out of it? And I made a mask out of it. But everyone was like, "But it's not breathable." I was fine. Let's make it breathable. So can we make it breathable? And we did. They were like, "But it's not protecting from Corona." And then I was fine. Okay, I bring an actual mask that protects from Corona, and I stitch it on it, so it became Corona protected. And they were like, "Yeah, but it's only for small things." People will always be like that. It's good. It keeps you moving. They're like, "Yeah, but it's too small." I was fine. Let's make a couch out of it. And it's just finding the best couch stitcher in town, the best leather stitcher, and just convincing the guy that, just give it a shot. And we gave him a piece, and he did it. He stitched it actually exactly like we would stitch a cuff. And then designing something, and I think we designed something we won. We were runner up for an international award for that. And then can we make a tent out of it, something that we showcased. So it was the Dubai Design Week. We created the tent made out of aubergine. It was called Metamorphosis of a Nomadic Tent. And then from there, can we create a dress? Can we create jewelry? It's just about testing things. It's just about pushing the boundary, Each time we're just going one step further. And to my delight, when I say I want to collaborate with people, I don't want to design these myself. I get this call suddenly from these girls from Uruguay, and they're fashion designers. And their thesis, this is how they graduated. They actually got the orange material. And I'm not a fashion designer, so I cannot write all these charts and make all these different standards and other. They showed me their thesis for their design, for the graduation. And it was a fashion line made out of orange. And this is exactly what I wanted, not me to do that because it's not my job, but for the professional people to just give this material a chance. Not because this material will solve the problem of plastic. It will never. It's not that scalable, But because it's a fresh perspective of looking at things. So garbage is basically, we see things as garbage. But if you think of it, the skin of the fruit, the real purpose of it is to preserve the sugars inside. This is the real purpose of the skin. So I did not create a new material. I've just repurposed. I've just reimagined the way to give that skin a second life. So basically, you're taking something that is designed in its DNA to be a protector, to be a layer, to be clothes for the fruit, and you just repurposed it for something else. And this was where the idea came from, and this was the evolution of it.
So with concepts like your aubergine leather, what you're trying to say is that you're not here to solve the sustainability problem, but you're here to inspire others to think differently about how they approach some of these problems and to think differently about how they view specifically food waste materials. Am I right in saying that?
I believe each person has a different part of the role. I think sustainability and changing the mindset and the status quo now, it's a very huge game. It's a very huge move. And you need from top leaders, top decision makers, top people in the industry, top people in the restaurants. You need all these different roles to be aligned on that for change to happen. I am an artist, so I'm part of that thing. So my thing is not to do something that is physically will change. My thing is to ask, this is more the politicians and the people who have the factories, who have the economies. We can be as romantic as we want, okay, but at the end of the day, businesses need to make profit. And there is many different things to change. I see that the future is changing towards a better, softer uh, future with regards to sustainability. But I don't really believe I'm there to give a solution for a problem. I think I'm there to ask a question, to show different things. And this is where the artist is. The artist, he makes you. I've always been, when I started, people would call me a chef, and I'm not, I'm a cook, don't call me a chef. And some chefs would be offended. Some of my friends, like, why don't you want to be called a chef? And I would always say, a chef feeds you, and I want to make you hungry. I don't want to feed you. So the thing is that I want you to question things. I want you to see the beauty in things that sometimes you might not be able to see. And I think this is the artist. This is the artist. Ultimate purpose is to show you something, to change the narrative, to show you something in a new perspective that you've never seen before. So having what I'm doing, it has a real fall on the real life, because I think it's more of just changing the perspective, having people inspired by that. So let's say 100 years from now, we have developed traveling on a spaceship. You're going somewhere. You're not going to have a cow with you. It just doesn't make sense to have a cow and see that. You need to, NASA is doing algae now in 2030. So it's just about being connected with what we were, with what we are producing. Some of the things I work with is sustainability. Other things would be precision food and new food technology, just changing the perspective and having their designers, their fashion designers, their students, their people coming and maybe being inspired by that. At least this is where my work is out now.
What is sustainability?
Depending on what industry you are, the definition would be. So it's, to me, I keep coming back as an artist. It's about being in love, being in a harmonious relationship with the environment we have. To me, this is it. So I eat beef, I eat chicken, for example. Do I think you can feed 80 billion people a really free roaming, beautifully living life chicken? Yeah, it's not realistic in that sense. So I understand that the romanticism is something, but for me, when I do my dinner, I pick a really beautiful farming place they have in Iceland, and it just has one bad day. So it has had a nice life, and then when I use this lamp, I use everything. I don't throw anything out of respect for that. It's just being in harmony with the environment that we live in.
What are your biggest fears for humanity?
I think it was Kant or Nietzsche who said each being has the purpose that it will destroy itself. It's just being too greedy, We've become too dependent on too many different things and too greedy, too entitled, that sometimes we don't take the time to enjoy the simplest things. I remember I was traveling, so went to Marrakesh and then went to Dubai. I did shot a TV show. Then I was an opening speaker at Cairo Design Week. Then I came back to Dubai, and then I came here. And I remember I'm still a little bit sick, but I was very sick when I was in Cairo. And I had the hardest time because I'm the opening speaker. And basically there's a film showing, then it's me talking for 2 hours. So I can't be sick, I can't miss that, okay? And I was under so much stress just to be there on time, not disappoint anyone. And I remember the moment I finished, I had this amazing feeling of nothingness. I have nothing to do now. And I've never enjoyed that before. It's just to put your feet up and just enjoy that you have nothing to do. So it was the first time I was able to understand as a person and know what a beautiful thing sometimes when you finish something is not to think, okay, what's next? It's just relax a little bit and just embrace it, breathe in, enjoy it. So I think we try to do too much. I think we should be more focused on what's good for us and what's good for humanity, I think. And with the world coming together, I think just even being sustainable together, being less racist, less afraid of the other person, afraid of what does not look like us or does not think like us. It's okay if you are different and if you think differently. And me as Omar, I defend your right to do that. always, you know. So it's just us being more simpler, connected, sustainable in the sense of enjoying this beautiful journey of life and the elevation we've been going through in the last. I mean, I don't think anyone in history have seen the change you've seen in the last 30 years. I mean, if you remember the games we used to play as kids and what's available now, as someone who's 5 year old would really look at our lives completely very differently. So the amount of change that's been going, and I think the change with the artificial intelligence and all that, I think the change is going to be much more faster. So just about embracing and being focused.
Who are your biggest inspirations?
There are some historic figures, of course, philosophers, some of the best artists in the world. Their life stories are very interesting, and the injustice. There's always a saying in Arabic that says, "Al-kathra taghlib al-shaja'a." The masses win the brave, and I think this is a wrong saying. I think if you are brave and you have thick skin, bravery, chivalry always wins at the end of the day. So I aspire and I respect the people who went against everything, and by their determination, they won. Whether it be Prophet Muhammad, whether it be philosopher, whether it be Van Gogh, all these amazing people who added a lot to our humanity. From that historic point, from a new point, the leaders of change. I mean, the Gulf, my God, like I was in Dubai, I'm looking at, literally this has been in the life of Sheikh Muhammad, and God bless him, and now His Royal Highness, and you are seeing real change of none before, and this is so beautiful to be experiencing that to the point of the people you work with. I have an architect that's called Omar Sartawi, for example. He's such a genius, and he gives you the guide. He gives. I always have a chat with him when I'm a little bit confused between projects, and he'd always like give you the pinpoint to, you know, this is where, this is that. Two, when I was in Cairo Design Week, I met these amazing people, Ismaili, real estate, another person, architect Karim. I was seeing their talk about how they want to revive old Cairo. And you look at intelligence and see their talk and the intelligence and the passion for them and what they're doing. So, yeah, and I am inspired by people who want better the reality, and not for personal, by the way. Most of these people, they're not doing it for their personal benefit. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm just really inspired by people that want to better the life of the people, their lives and the people around them, throughout history till now. Yeah.
And people who are inspired by you then, what do you hope that those people take from your art?
I think it's just about challenging the status quo. I was born and I was raised in an environment with so many solid questions answered. So everything should be done in this matter. And I think this hasn't led us to a very good place. And I think questioning things, not unemotional questioning, but really questioning things and just trying to better the reality, to have a better future, to develop. I really believe we have, for example, one of the best cuisines in the world. The Arabic food, it's out of this world. The problem is we were not being able to tell the story right, so people would understand it. And I think now we are better storytellers. So it's about spreading our food and culture, and we are a culture that loves to give. Yeah, if you come to an Arabic house and you see how they greet you over food, and first of all, in Arabia, everything we do over food, wedding, divorce, anything we do, it's always over food. So if you come to an Arabic house and you see the giving, it's unmatched. Yani. So having that understood by everyone and experienced, and the food has that as well in its forms, experiencing Arabic food, just being able to be inspired by telling the story of our food to other cultures without being defensive, just telling a story and just letting them try it, no matter what the result is. And it's just about that. It's just about spreading our culture and just not being afraid to go out there and do things which never been done before, regardless of the result. Of course, if you do things that's never been done before, you will fail, and failure is a good thing, by the way. Failure, I think, is a better teacher than success, because with success, but failure is where you learn. So going out there, doing a couple of things, failing a little bit, picking yourself up, and just going to work again. These are the things, and just believe that we have a beautiful culture, and we need to show it to the whole world, food-wise.
As you've mentioned, we met at InFlavour.
First of all, I just want to say it was beautiful, man. One of the best organized I've seen there. It was really one of the nicest experiences I had.
Yeah, the initial event, it was absolutely incredible. We had a great time, and it was so interesting to be there and really start to understand what's going on in KSA and kind of the innovations that are happening in that beautiful country. And so tell me, what role do you see KSA playing, particularly when it comes to innovations in food and sustainability in the coming years?
I think His Royal Highness, he said it's going to be the new Europe. I really believe in that. I see it happening. I see the people in Dubai. Most people I know are moving to Saudi now, are working there. The projects are on a different level, and the accumulated knowledge. Like in Dubai, I never had a better service than in Dubai, and I doubt there is a place on earth that you can have a better service in Dubai. And Saudi is moving big in that as well. And in InFlavour, you see everyone from around the world. Everyone literally was there. Like Marco Pierre White is one of the reasons I became a chef. I would skip school, and in London, I was studying in London. He would be on TV, and I would skip school and I'd be watching him. To be able to actually meet Marco and cook with him his mom's risotto, it's not only a dream, it's something. If you tell me a year ago, I'll tell you this is not something that would happen. So I think Saudi Arabia is becoming a place where dreams come true, and Dubai as well. I see Saudi really being a big hub for innovation in food and in so many different disciplines, but definitely in food. I think Saudi is a huge foodie culture. So when we went to Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, just like we reached at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we went to a restaurant that's famous for shawarma and falafel at 3 o'clock in the morning. I've never seen this in anywhere in the world. Never seen this. It was full of people at 3 o'clock in the morning. It was full of. We couldn't find the people, and they were closing. And we just got in, just got a cup of shawarmas and falafel. They were mopping while we were eating at 30. It was super busy. And since then, we tried, one of the best destinations for me for food is actually Saudi Arabia. And I think they are really into the hospitality part, and they are genuinely generous people. I was when we went to dinner, remember that day. So there was a restaurant next to the place we were, and I've always wanted to try that restaurant. So after we finished our dinner, we went and we tried to eat something, but we were too full. So I told the guys there, you know what? Next time we come, we're coming in 2 weeks. I promise I'm gonna come here first. So next 2 weeks we came and we went there first. They remembered us. The amount of hospitality we had, they were so amazing. This guy is an engineer, our waiter. He's an engineer. It was his last week. So he's a Saudi guy, an engineer, working as a waiter. Amazing guy, speaks perfect English, so polite. And they started giving us tasting food on different items. And the guy actually invites us to his house. He's like, please come try my mom's food. Where would you find this in the world? I mean, I was looking, this is unmatched, was amazing service.
That's beautiful, and it's such a sense of humanity as well. Connecting over food in that way. It's, as you say, it's so innately human, and it transcends cultural boundaries.
And they care about the guests. So we went as well to Riyadh season a couple of days, and they would really, the ushers would be, please sit. We just wanted to have a look. They would, please sit, enjoy. They want you to have fun. See, there's something, you can't make people want things. Like with hospitality, it's either you care or you don't care. So like a waiter who doesn't care, a server, a manager who doesn't care, he doesn't care. Okay, and these are very dangerous. And most of the industry is full of people who just doing it as a job. I found in Saudi, no, they really care about being hospitable and taking care of you. And I think this translates to, give it a couple of years, it's going to be different world out there.
When it comes to InFlavour then, as an event, what are the opportunities there for folks, folks who are thinking about coming in 2024?
It's really becoming the center of the world. I think you can't afford to miss such things. You need to be present. And what I loved, it was the balance. So there is that serious part with the serious meeting, the serious companies, all that. But there was the fun part and experiencing new things and new food. So it was entertaining, and rarely I see that. Usually it's either too businessy or it's too fun. I love the balance.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes so much sense as well. Having that balance, because it means that you can find your innovators. You can find that 2.5% that you were talking about earlier. But also you've got all the elements there. So, if you are someone who is more on the business side, but you're looking for people to collaborate who are a bit more creative and innovative, you can find your people there, right? So yeah, it's just a fantastic kind of hub really for people who
went 3 days. Usually I'd go to an event 2-3 hours and you'd get burned out, first day, second day. And actually it was fun. I went every single day. You'd meet all these amazing people, all these amazing businesses, the team behind it. They left nothing to chance.
There are probably people listening to this or watching this who are interested in using food as a path to a better future. What advice would you give someone on that journey, or someone who's perhaps just starting out on that journey?
You can't bypass education. You can't bypass learning. You need to learn. There's a threshold. There is a point you will reach that then you can become conceptual. But you need, first of all, before you break out of the box or think out of the box, you need to master the box. So I would suggest you need to work with the best you can. You need to learn as much as you can, okay? And after you reach that, and then once you become competent, you need to never stop learning. That is the most dangerous part. If you ever think you're good enough to not learn, I always get inspired by different things. I get inspired by a dish I have on the plane, or by some shawarma guy doing something, or by something I've seen. So it's just asking, keeping always deep thirsty and wanting to learn and wanting to be inspired. We were working on a TV shows with these very important people. It didn't materialize, but what was interesting. So I'm working with these top Hollywood people, and they tell me something like, there are like 7 stories in the world, and they just keep changing some parameters. I did not understand it because it's not my field, but imagine of all the stories and all the films and everything, it's based on 7 stories apparently. So same with food. We are all inspired. Nothing starts from zero. We are all inspired from each other. So you should become competent, and after that, never stop being inspired. The moment you think you're good, you are finished. When I work with people, if I see someone very confident and not confident in the good way, I mean, like someone is he thinks he knows everything. The only thing that's constant is change. So things will always change. So you need to just become competent and then just be humble and keep learning.
It's really interesting listening to you. I've been reading a lot about Leonardo da Vinci recently, and one of the things that strikes me about Leonardo da Vinci is you look at his life, and he had a lot of different interests in a lot of different disciplines, if you like. So he was into architecture and engineering. He was into maths. He was into biology. He was into fine art. And by studying all these different things and getting, really deeply interested in them, and also observing in a very obsessive way, he was able to come up with new innovations that took the best of these different areas. And it seems to me like this is kind of somewhat how you approach things as well. It's clear that you've got interests in a lot of different fields, and that those things kind of come together to make something new and beautiful.
It's called a polymath. So a polymath is a person that has the brain of an artist and the knowledge of a scientist, or the brain of a scientist. So the thing is that usually scientists are very serious people, and they're very afraid to say something that might not be so accurate. Artists, they are more playful. So the idea is to have the knowledge and then be playful. This is called the polymath. And I think it's beautiful because you get to merge the real with the unreal, the imaginary with the science, and you can create new things. Funny you mentioned Da Vinci, because we did a show. There's an immersive experience where actually it was in Shangri-La, Dubai for a year. I was animated and I'll be projected on the table. And basically so it was me, Da Vinci, and the Mona Lisa. And Da Vinci wants to make everyone into an artist. So he created me from the Pertubian. And I cooked 7 paintings to people. So you go through a 2-hour immersive experience. And by the end of it, you are turned into an artist and you draw a Van Gogh on a chocolate bar. So I always mention how Da Vinci, I'd always use it as an example of genius and insanity. So Da Vinci was a genius. He envisioned, and I think the genius is the highest form of the God in us, and insanity is losing that line. So Da Vinci imagined the helicopter way before the technology can do it, and yet he never attempted to fly. So this is genius, Has him attempted to fly, he would have died and he would have been a madman. So it's just a matter of, there is a line where you can imagine things and just try to see if you can create them, or maybe it's just an idea. And I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by his work. I'm fascinated by the diversity that he had, from tashri'ah, from the human body, his ability to produce art, to produce beauty, I think the highest form of us as humans is to produce beauty. And I think the old Egyptians, they produced some of the most beautiful. I was just in the pyramids and in the Hada a couple of days ago. The amount of beauty is unmatched. But I think Da Vinci is one of those people who was actually able to create so much beauty and science. And I think he'll never have another Da Vinci.
What advice would you have for someone who, in their personal life, is wanting to unlock more creativity in food, maybe be a bit more thoughtful and sustainable in their approach to food? What advice would you give them?
So, for example, I shot something for Ramadan with MBC, with a TV show, where I reused food. So in Ramadan, we out of pressure, out of social pressure, we tend to overcook. We tend to cook to please everyone, because everyone meets at the table on iftar break, and everyone has a preference in food. So we end up cooking a lot and we end up throwing food. So I shot this thing where I reuse the food. So the rice that you have, some meat, some chicken, I make it next day into a soup. The samosa, I make it into a fatte. So I would say just play around the kitchen. Just be correct. Just if you season well, everything will taste well. If you put enough salt on things, a little bit of acid, you can make anything taste good. So just be confident in experimenting. Try things. Try not to throw food away. Be experimental with it, and for creativity, I would say baby steps. Don't jump. You just do it little bit by little bit. Push every day a little bit further. But always try to be grounded. Always try to be grounded and do things that you believe in, that makes you that you want to see, that makes you happy. Don't follow trends and the hypes and these things. They die after, especially in our days now, trends, they die after like 10 days or something. So do the things that make you happy. I think all the cooks, I was, when I did cooking later on, I was discovering how much I loved my choice, because like the oldest cookbook in the world is from Syria, and it's called The Way to the Heart, through the way to the heart of the beloved one. And I think food has always been about love. It's always about the people who like to cook are, I always think they're good people, because they care. They want to give something that is beautiful. They want to give you happiness. They want to create a nice moment for you. And I think it's one of these nice offerings and givings. So just embrace that, enjoy it, and just put your passion in it. And little bit at a time, but then we'll just start experimenting with it. There is no wrong and right in life.
One of the questions that I'm really curious about is how you make being an artist pay. Because, you know, historically, most artists, you know, they barely scrape by financially. And obviously, when you are wanting to share a message as well through your art, that can be polarizing. So what does that look like?
And nowadays, it's not as bad as before. I always say, when you challenge the status quo, there's always a bit to pay. If you ever want to challenge the status quo, especially in the area I'm from, we're not used to challenging. We even have sayings that say, don't challenge the status quo, listen to what people say, dress as people like and eat as people like. So to be an artist, you would want to challenge the status quo. You want to do things as you see it. Nowadays, it's more forgiving. It's just people would say some nasty things about you, maybe that like you, something like that, but at least you're safe. So in that sense, there is improvement. In the sense of art, I think artists are starting to be paid. Things are changing. A lot of artists, among them, a lot of coming back to innovation coming from the Gulf. There are so many art biennales that are being sold out, and artists are being celebrated. So I think the times are changing. It's just a matter where do you want to, I mean, like, so food art would not make you money because it's not something, it's not a structured discipline of art yet. I think in the future it will be, but I would make it in different places. But I'm sure in 20 years time, food art would as well pay as paintings and sculpture. And most of my friends, the painters, the sculptors, their art pieces are growing up with time. So I think as a culture, we're starting to appreciate art and more than before. I keep repeating that always, with artists, I always tell people we should not come from above, especially with food, because everyone eats 3 times a day. So we cannot tell people what to eat or how to eat. Everyone eats. So you have to come from down up. But with art and appreciation, usually it's the cultures are affected from up to down. So with the visions of the leaders of the Gulf, art is being more respected and appreciated day by day. So I think this vision is changing. I think this artists are not doing well. I think this would change. It's changing already, and it would change further. I think artists are doing good nowadays.
What's next for Omar? What have you got either in the pipeline, or what is in your mind that you'd like to do in the coming months and years?
We have amazing projects we're working on, really cool projects, food-related, restaurants, immersive experiences, dinner shows, and as well art collaborations. So, and I'm launching something very interesting. I really loved when I went to Riyadh. There's one of these cities that you fall in love with or you just don't like. So when I went to Beirut, I just fell in love immediately. When I went to Riyadh, it just felt like a second home. I'm launching something with amazing partners in Riyadh in the next couple of months. And I think, inshallah, it's going to be huge. And it's very relevant to the culture. So working on a couple of things, long-term working on a TV show where you show the behind the scenes. I think kitchens are very interesting. When you're sitting in the restaurant, this is the least interesting part is the table. The most interesting part is the behind the scenes, as well in the hotels. So I work with some of the best hotels in the world and some of the best brands. And I want to take people behind the scenes and show them, because I don't work as an employee. I work with the hotel on projects. So I have access to everywhere. And I just want to be able to take a camera and just take people behind the scenes and show them the work, the discipline, the chaos, everything, and just have them experience that. I think this is a nice view of it's very entertaining, to say the least. So hopefully this is going to come together. We're working on something, dinner 2030. We want to celebrate the vision of His Royal Highness. And I'm fascinated by the projects that are happening. So we want to modernize Saudi food and have it with an immersive experience, just telling the stories of the dishes, the traditional dishes, and the trojina, and the line, and the al-ula. So this is something big I really want to work on. I want to focus on it just to build up for it in the next year or so.
Amazing. If people want to find out more about you, follow the journey, what you're up to and stuff, where's the best place for them to do that?
Follow my Instagram, and we're launching a website. We're going to be talking about the project, because some of the projects, actually, with the reason, the inspiration for the TV show was you see the final product and image, and it doesn't tell you the story of how you came about there, all the self-doubt, the problems, the guy who was late for delivery. So there's all this drama that always happens unnecessarily in everything you do. And I just wanted to showcase that. But for the collaborations, as well, we're launching a website where we will have proper accreditation and talking about the project and the collaboration. So that's going to be very soon. But for now, it's going to be Instagram.
Cool. So on Instagram, you're Omar_Sartawi. Omar, it's been so good to chat. Thank you so much for joining us on the InFlavour podcast. And yeah, it's been truly inspiring. So thank you.
Can't wait to see you in London. I know you're a big foodie, so you're going to go around in London, try the best food and just talk about food more. Thank you for having me. I really want to thank InFlavour for putting an amazing event. And I have to keep repeating this point, which I think is very important. I think in congresses and events, sometimes we forget the fun part. It's just boring and it's just work. It did not feel like work. It felt like a dream. It felt like meeting all these amazing people and getting introduced to the culture. It was an amazing experience. So I want to thank them for having me. It was really a memorable experience, and looking forward to many more experiences with you guys. And really, I enjoyed the podcast, and the questions were very inspiring. It was an interesting conversation. So thank you for that.
I will 100% be taking you on a food tour of London. And yeah, I can't wait.
Habibi, thank you.
Thank you so much, Omar.